I wasn't sure how to send this to you, so I'm just going to do a screen record. I'm logged into VoiceThread here, and I'm in here with other people from the class like Julia, Manuel, let's see, Kanisha, I guess that's Manny, Kanisha, Caitlin's in here somewhere. Um, yeah, there she is. And here's me. It was turned in on August 6th. So I'm going to open that up. I'm just going to record this, and you can view it that way. Hopefully this will come through just fine. Thank you. Hello, my name's Andrew Amend, and this is my single case design and study for social work class 6347 at Our Lady of the Lake University, taught by Professor Kimber Gallegos, PhD. Goal identification or dependent variable. For this single case study, my goal or objective is to increase the number of times that I go for a walk first thing in the morning to improve upon my usual frequency of only once a week. The problem that I've been having is that if I wait until after my day starts, which for me is sitting down at my computer, then I just feel like I don't have time, and it just doesn't seem to happen. So this goal or objective is going to be my dependent variable for this single case study, as it is the thing that depends on whatever the independent variable or intervention is that I choose to make to achieve this desired change. Okay, so the original intervention I've chosen to affect my dependent variable is to attempt to go to bed earlier in the evening, say around 11 p.m. And it turns out that, say a week or so into this study, I found an intervention that worked much better because this one wasn't really working that great. But it wasn't, maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe that's another better way to put it. It wasn't enough. And I found another intervention to add to it. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so the idea behind the original intervention is that I often feel that I would rather sleep in to the very last minute so as to get the most possible sleep on days that I normally stay up until 1 or 2 a.m. the night before. And in this moment of decision, um, I would most often choose sleep, largely because I'm convinced myself that in the short term, this is a better choice as it would give me more energy for that particular day. And to be perfectly honest, it's also the easiest thing to choose when all you want to do is get more sleep. Okay, so I have chosen this goal or dependent variable as it is something that I've been needing to do for some time. And plus, I have a family vacation coming up at the end of this class, and walking for most of the day while on this vacation will be kind of a thing. And so I need to be a bit more prepared for it. Okay, so here's the data. And as you can see from week one, the number of days of going to bed early, I only rose to go walking one time on the first day of the intervention. Not a good week, and something needed to change. So some changes were made. And in week two, I chose to add an additional intervention, or should I say I added another independent variable to see if it would be more, have more of an impact on the dependent variable going for a walk. So in adding this new independent variable, sort of midstream during the test, I went from what would have been an A-B test design, and it had then turned into an ABC test design. Okay, and so what was this new intervention? Well, turns out putting on jogging clothes before I left the bedroom, which is key, instead of getting up and putting on my robe and going downstairs to make coffee, made a big difference. So basically, if I showed up downstairs in my robe, sitting with my coffee in my hand, I just wasn't getting any walking done. I couldn't seem to break free from the waking up phase, so to speak. And when I showed up downstairs with my jogging clothes on instead, I was far more likely to walk out the door after I made some coffee. When I was younger, I would do this, and it worked pretty good, putting the clothes on immediately for jogging before I did anything else. And so I tried it again, and it seemed to work this time too. Okay, and so as we can see from the data and the graphical interpretation of the data, the new intervention, or should the addition of the new intervention, um, seemed to be working pretty good in weeks 2, 3, and 4, progressively better and better results. And so, yes, you can take a look. The blue represents days that I walked, and in week 1, really only walked one day that whole week. But in week 2, after starting this, adding this intervention in week 2, as you can see in the blue, I walked significantly more. If you look in week 2, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 days that I walked. And in week 3, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And in week 4, it was 6 days. And all the data there to support that. And so the big question is did we determine causality? Did we decide that these interventions were effective? I mean, if you go back to the test data and look at it, sure seems like it is, but there could be a fly in the ointment. There could be other reasons why we were working or things were progressing. And so we can't really determine causality quite yet. There's many factors that can account for results. But if I were to guess, I would say that the second intervention really seemed to get things going from a subjective point of view. It was definitely helping my motivation. And while I think about the introduction of the second intervention, that it was helpful, I'm not sure if it would have been as helpful if I had still been staying up late at night in the nights before those days. My best guess is that both interventions were important and effective for positive change. In terms of causality, could we say what one intervention was more effective than the other? I don't know. So if I were to do this study again, I would choose to stay with a single intervention for the full course of the testing phase, and the results might be clear which intervention was more effective after testing each intervention separately after 2 testing phases. Then you might be able to say one was working better than the other, maybe. Then in a third test, it could be tested in combination of both interventions for the full testing phase, because we only did it, there was 1 week that was missing, that was combined. So it'd be interesting to have done it all 4 weeks. And in this way, we may be able to decide if the combined interventions were more effective than the results of the 2 interventions added together. What I mean by that is perhaps the impact could compound the effectiveness, creating some kind of synergy where the 2 together were more effective than the sum of the parts. So there's that to think about. Well, anyway, that's all for now, and I want to thank you for listening to this presentation. Take care.